Picture this. A man sees a woman stepping into traffic while looking at her phone, not paying attention. He reacts in the moment, grabs her, pulls her out of an oncoming car's path. The car whooshes by, but no one gets hit. He saved her life. That should be the end of the story, right? Well, I'm sorry to say, my friends, it ain't. Because in this case, later on, she chose to file a complaint against him, saying his touch violated her.
Jessica later filed a complaint stating that Daniel's actions were inappropriate and violated her personal boundaries. Her legal team argued that no one has the right to touch another person without consent, even in an emergency situation.
And now he's facing a sexual harassment allegation. Men, this is a come to Jesus moment for us. Think about it. You do the right thing. You stop a car from killing someone. And as a result, you get accused of crossing a line, of committing a felony. Congratulations, you're not a hero. You're now a walking paradox. Let's be blunt. This isn't about denying women safety. It's about men being painted into a corner where the cost of helping someone can wreck your life. And there are far too many real examples out there for this to be called an outlier. Remember the lifeguard who pulled a kid from a near drowning and then faced criminal charges for doing it. That case turned into a national mess about responsibility and blame for rescuers. Or the retired fire chief who saved a woman and still ended up cuffed, questioned, and dragged into a legal drama until the charges were dismissed later. That one also got national attention, and it shows how quickly hero flips to suspect. California's courts and other decisions long ago warned that Good Samaritan rescues can still result in civil liability, meaning you can save someone and still get sued. That's not theory, that's legal history. The list is endless and growing by the day. So what's the point? The point is this: the social and legal lines are moving under our feet. Look, I'm not saying never help. That's a decision you and only you can decide. But the reality on the ground is crystal clear. The personal risk to you sometimes outweighs the moral reward. Let's unpack how this happens, which is quickly and ugly. First, interpretation overrides intent. Everyone keeps telling you that intent matters. Cool story, bro. But the new public logic is your intent doesn't matter at all if someone claims or feels they were harmed or violated. Sure, video footage can help, but it doesn't always save you from complaints, investigations, civil suits, or canceled reputations. Next, everyone's armed with cameras and lawyers. A cell phone video might clear you, or it might be clipped and captioned into a narrative that suits the person who wants to press charges. DoorDash girl, anyone? Then the lawyers get involved. The internet forms a jury. Suddenly, you're a trending story before you even thought about getting a defense lawyer. Third, social incentives reward filing. There are real incentives for a woman to file a complaint, from legal teams probing weak cases to civil suits that can pay out. A frightened or angry woman can decide later that your help was harassment. And once that complaint exists, even if it's dismissed later, your life's already taken the damage. So what does this mean for men out on the street? Well, it means there's no reliable way to know how a given person will react. Whether they'll thank you, shrug and walk away, or lawyer up. That uncertainty is the poison. You asked for a hard truth at the end. Well, here it is. Women don't speak with one voice on this, but a growing number of cases where rescuers are investigated, sued, or accused of harassment, SA, or worse, means even more women will consider legal action when contacted without prior consent. We can argue fairness all day long, but you don't get to determine risk based on what you think is fair. You have to decide based on how the world actually reacts. And in a world where believe all women and Me Too reigns, it simply isn't safe for men, to even be around women anymore, let alone try to save them from a certain death. And that's why a lot of men have quietly changed their behavior. Record first, call authorities first, avoid physical contact unless there's literally no other option. And sometimes, even then, they're just turning around and walking away. Here are 5 practical rules that I've adopted, not because I like them, but because I got to survive, because I value my life. Rule 1, do a verbal warning first if the situation allows. Yell something like, "Hey, watch out." Loud, clear, direct. If you want to do more, maybe pull someone back with a reached hand that touches her shoulder lightly. That's safer than a full grab, but even that can be risky. Very risky. Rule 2, if the danger is imminent and you have to act physically, make sure there are witnesses or video. And if there's not, don't do anything. To paraphrase Ivan Drago, if she dies, she dies. But if you're one of those who feels they must step in, at a minimum, point to a bystander, tell them to record or verbally acknowledge witnessing what you're about to do. Say something like, "Hey, you there, film this." Yeah, it sucks that you have to do that. And it delays your ability to save the person, often when time is of the utmost essence. But it protects you later. And protect yourself, men, you must. Rule 3, call the cops immediately, even if it was nothing or minor. Say to them you intervened to prevent injury. File your own statement while it's still fresh in your mind, and document the hell out of everything. Rule 4, and I can't believe I have to even say this one. For the love of God, if someone refuses help and keeps walking, don't force a rescue. You can't fix everything. Yeah, you can step in to stop a car, but dragging someone when they clearly say no is a whole different risk calculation. And finally, rule number 5. If you're in doubt, let the professionals handle it. Security, police, paramedics, just dial 911 or get them to physically intervene if you can. Let's be clear, none of this is honorable, and none of it, I'd argue, is even right. But it's what women have created with their false allegations, their phony interpretations, and their attempts to blame men, even ones who quite literally saved their life, for everything. No, you shouldn't have to film yourself saving someone. No, you shouldn't have to weigh your civil risk while a car's barreling in. But that's the world we live in, men, and it's about time we all realized it. Let's put a human face on the risk again. Daniel, the man in the video who pulled the woman out of traffic, says he only wanted to save her life. But she's now filed a complaint alleging inappropriate contact. You can watch the surveillance and see the car almost hit her. The grab clearly stops her from walking into danger. But did she appreciate it? No, she didn't. She chose to file a complaint. We talked about the lifeguard case earlier where he pulled a kid from near drowning and then faced criminal investigation. We saw the retired fire chief who saved a woman and still spent time under arrest until the case got clear. We've seen time and again how courts have made rescuers potentially liable even when they act in good faith. And let's be clear here, Good Samaritan laws don't always work. When you add all of that up, it's not conspiracy, it's a pattern. Good acts done by men almost immediately followed by legal exposure. And that pattern is shaping behavior. So what about the critics who say if you're scared to help, you're just a coward? Well, I say it's not cowardice, it's what women want. In fact, it's what they've demanded, to be left alone by men, even if it kills them. The fact is, those that say men are cowards for not white knighting don't care about the men at all. They don't care about the consequences they face because they see men as disposable. Know that, men, and understand choosing not to act in a climate where women will destroy you any chance they get isn't cowardice, it's self-preservation. And self-preservation is rational, and rational choices scale. If men are told there's a 1 in 100 chance helping will get you sued or charged, a lot of men are going to choose not to help. If men are told it's 1 in 1,000, well, still some will choose not to help. And here's the thing. You can never know if it's 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 or even 1 in 10. The risk is there. It's always present, and it's growing by the day. In the end, as I said earlier, you and only you can decide if it's worth it. And if you choose to not help, there is nothing to be ashamed about. Why? Because reputation, career, and relationships, those things are fragile, and they can be all lost in a split second. A split second where you decide to do the right thing. And then she decides to destroy your life for doing so. Here's the brutal summary. When the system punishes rescuers, men need to be thinking to themselves what I said earlier. If she dies, she dies. Because touching her or saving her could end up destroying you. Could, in fact, result in your death. Not because you're a monster, but because the legal and social costs have become so weaponized. Now the part I really want to slam home at the end, the bad news that you want to see on camera. Women aren't monolithic, but there are women, sometimes encouraged by legal teams, sometimes motivated by fear or trauma, sometimes motivated by money or reputation protection, and sometimes just because they hate men or want to get cred with the coven, who will file charges after being helped. And you can never know ahead of time which one you'll meet. So you have to operate like you're walking into a minefield. Look, that's not a call to be cold or cruel. It's a call to be smart and to act like the stakes are high. Because, my friends, they are. Final takeaway, short and ugly. If you choose to help, document it, get witnesses, call the police, and then get your own statement on the record. If you choose not to intervene, call it what it is, self-preservation. And don't let anybody shame you for choosing to survive and protect your life and your reputation. Because while, yes, her life matters, guess what? So does yours. And yours could be over every bit as much as hers if you do choose to do the right thing. In the end, it's a raw moral question. What kind of society punishes the people trying to save others? The answer, sadly, is our society. One that vilifies men for doing anything, including risking their life to save another. That's the real problem. We should fix the incentives. We should protect rescuers. We should hold those women who do this stuff accountable. But we won't. And until we do, then men are going to have to look out for themselves. All right, difficult subject, I know, but if this one hit home, do me a favor and hit that like button and share this with other men so they too can understand the risks and then make the appropriate decision for them based on them. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss my next video. Because we're not here to feel good. We're here to be sharp, survive, and make sense of a world that often doesn't.